big announcement. For those that don't know me, my name is Alex Caulfield. I work in the Sounders FC Communications and Broadcasting Department. And before we begin today, we're actually going to start with our President of Business Operations, Peter Tomazawa, and a formal land acknowledgement. Peter?
Thanks, Alex. It's been a while since I've worn shoes.
To share this historic moment with us. And so to start this off, this morning off, I'd like to now read the land acknowledgement. We respectfully acknowledge that as we convene here, we do so on unceded Coast Salish land. We acknowledge and pay respect to the first peoples who gathered here, to elders, past and present, to all Indigenous peoples. We thank the Coast Salish people for their generations of stewardship over the natural environment. Let us all work together to create inclusive partnerships, to honor Indigenous partnerships, and to convene our community to steward the land. Thank you. Turn it back over to Alex.
Okay, as we dive into today's formal run of show, we're actually going to begin from hearing from our head coach, Brian Schmetzer, who unfortunately, as most of you know, could not be here today because the team is playing in Honduras to begin their Champions League campaign tomorrow evening. But Brian did leave us with a message to kick off today's proceedings, and so we're going to begin with that.
Home is where the heart is. And this club has lived in the hearts and voices of the fans since 1974. We've lived in the trophies and in the tears, in the echoing chants and the scarves held high, no matter where we are. The Kingdom, Memorial Stadium, Starfire, or Lumen Field, we've given our full 90, and you've done the same. We built this club on a great heritage. Everything we've accomplished, we did it together. The goals, the heroes, the trophies, the memories. Through it all, you are the heart of the club. And as we approach our 50th anniversary, we're reaffirming our commitment to our heritage and our home. In 2024, we will open a state-of-the-art training facility for our players and staff. This investment is a promise to you. We aren't going anywhere, and we hope you aren't either. So here's to the last 50 years, and here's to 50 more.
Once again, thank you so much for being here. I'm quickly going to introduce our panelists today, all of whom really need no introduction from me, but just for clarity, we'll introduce everybody and then go through a couple of news and notes on today's run of show. Immediately seated to my left is King County Executive Dow Constantine. To Dow's left is Renton Mayor Armando Pavoni. In the center of our panel is Sounders FC majority owner Adrian Hanauer. And to Adrian's left is Unico Properties Chief Investment Officer Ned Carner. And to Ned's left is Sounders FC General Manager and President of Soccer Garth Lagerway. All will be making opening remarks today as part of the proceedings. All will be available for the media Q&A period, which is customary for our news conferences that will take place once all of the opening remarks have been completed. Just so everyone is aware, today's press conference does include a groundbreaking component, and don't worry, we'll allow everyone to restage outside for that. There is an apparatus immediately behind us where we will stage that groundbreaking at the conclusion of the formal media Q&A. We'll have about a 5 to 10 minute intermission there, and everyone can get settled. We won't get going without any news photographers or still shooters. We'll be good to go there. I should also mention that for those interested at the end of the press conference, and all of this is wrapped today, there is a site tour for media that are interested, and I'll provide a few more details on that for anybody that would like to RSVP for it. It's being led by Sounders FC Chief Financial Officer Tom Riley. With that, I'm going to hand it over to Sounders FC owner Adrian Hanauer for some introductory remarks.
Thanks, Alex. And thank you all for being here so much. And I get the honor of saying welcome to the future home of Sounders FC. Welcome to Sounders Center at Long Acres. We are so excited to have this opportunity on this historic piece of land, on this property. I will speak a little bit more about the history of this land in my remarks later on, but we are just thrilled to plant our flag on this site for the next generation of Sounders staff, players, coaches, and fans, because ultimately this is a facility for our fans. As you probably noticed walking in, the columns literally are being held up by our fans, our Alliance members' names on those columns. And this facility will be no different for us as we look at our club. It is a club of our fans. But before I talk a little bit more about the specifics and how this affects our club's trajectory and future, we wanted to let you see the full vision. So we have a video package that has been designed by our friends at Generator Studios, our architects on this project. Thanks. I am going to talk quite a bit about the future, what the future holds for this club and this land, but I can't talk about the future without talking a little bit about the past and how we got here. I look around and see the people that have been involved in this club, some from the beginning in the 1970s, others who've joined us most recently and become part of the Sounders family. But this, again, has always been a collection of the people around this club. And I want to give special thanks to the city of Tukwila, Mayor Ekberg, and his team, the great people at Starfire, led by Chris Slatt, Steve Beck. I know Ben Oliver is here. Starfire and Tequila have been a great home for us when we launched our club, and will be for a couple more years. So really appreciate the infrastructure and the path that got us here today. But you know, today is about the future and what we will do to build this club for the next generations. So obviously very happy to be joined here today by King County Executive Dow Constantine, Mayor Armando Pavoni of the City of Renton, members of their city council. I've seen the fire department, police representatives here. So really appreciate the welcome that we have gotten from the city. My new best friend and partner, Ned Carner, here to my left from Unico, who has promised to be a great landlord to the Sounders and never call and get mad when the rent checks don't show up on time. We are so excited to get going on this project. We will occupy 50,000 plus square feet in this existing building. You can see for yourselves how beautiful this architecture is and the building is. We will improve it. We'll make it even more beautiful. We will make it a place for our fans, and it will be a fantastic center for excellence for our club. Fields, 4 fields, possibly 5. We're still honing in on exact designs, but a great place for us to foster an amazing culture for our club, to develop players from the youngest ages to the guys that you see starting tomorrow in Honduras, and the regular season coming up quickly. And this facility, again, will put the fans at the center. This will be a gathering place for our fans, and they will help make this property super special. We will continue to focus on our mission as a club, which is to create moments, enrich lives, and unify through soccer. But I do want to go back in history a little bit, because this property is such a special piece of property. I think it's really important to talk about that. But first, in 1974, I was an 8-year-old kid, soccer brat, who fell in love with the Sounders for the first time. Obviously, I've been involved for quite a while, whether it was as that kid attending games and camps, back to the USL days, now the MLS era. But our future is super bright. We are coming upon our 50th anniversary in 2024. Our 50th year starts today. Our march to the 50th starts today. We are announcing a series of fan engagement exercises and campaigns that involve our fans to help us tell us what the future of our club looks like. That may include marks, branding materials. It'll certainly involve what this 50th anniversary celebration looks like in 2024 when we open this amazing facility on this storied property. So you will hear much more about that in the coming weeks, months, and we are counting on our fans to help us design and build the future of this club. But again, this property, this piece of land, is really an extraordinary piece of land. It's probably inappropriate for me to mention, but I spent a lot of time here as a kid going to the horse races. I'm certain I wasn't allowed to be betting on horses, but it was a part of my childhood. But and that was sort of my entree into this property. But as we dug deeper through our friends in the city, Unico, and by the way, an assist from our friend Leonard Garfield at the Museum of History and Industry, we found that this property has an amazing and rich culture and heritage. From the Duwamish and Coast Salish people who inhabited this property, to the immigrant Japanese American and Filipino Americans who settled and farmed this land, this valley, to the almost, I think, 60 years of horse racing that was here with Longacres, and then obviously the aviation history that people are so familiar about. We plan to embrace and lean into that history, to use that as part of our core. And as we are a club celebrating our 50th anniversary, we absolutely want to lean into making sure that we help create a jewel for the city of Renton, the county, this community, and that this is an important piece of the fabric of the community here, aspirational for kids, and we again leave this place better than when we found it. And I couldn't be more excited to be leaning into that in this period of time, the next 5, 10, 15, 20 years in our sport, in our community. 2026 is a World Cup year in North America. We are cautiously optimistic that we will be able to host that event in part in our community. That will be a massive piece of news and catalyst for growth. Our league is growing, infrastructure, and development of young players, fans. So we are absolutely ecstatic to have this new home. We can't wait to get busy digging and building. But thank you again for being here to support the opening of our new training facility, the Sounders Center at Longacres, and again, the next 50 years start today. So with that, I'm going to pass it off to, again, my new friend, my partner on this facility overall, our landlord, the Chief Investment Officer from Unico Properties, Ned Carner. Thank you.
Thank you, Adrian, and thank you, Sounders. You know, as a real estate person, to be able to partner with the Sounders that have a shared vision is just a unique and really generational opportunity, so we're thrilled. I'm with Unico Properties. We're a Seattle local real estate developer. We've been around since 1954, so actually when the Sounders move into their facility, we'll be celebrating our 70th year. And what I think is most unique about this opportunity from a real estate perspective is to take the community and the legacy that the Sounders have developed and convert that into real estate and create a place that enhances the lives of those people that work here and live here. And over the next 10 years, we're going to be shaping this property into something that sets it up for the next generation to come. We're hoping to build up to 3,000 multifamily units and have a really unique mixed-use development that's activated and exciting and really enhances not only the lives of the people that office here, that recreate here, that choose to live here, but also lifts up the community around here and is a place where the community can come, gather, and be a part of something. And so we think with the Sounders partnership, this is going to be a truly unique opportunity, and we couldn't be more pleased to have them as a partner as we figure out and plan for this site's future.
Okay, next we are going to hear from Dow Constantine, King County Executive.
Well, thank you, Alex, and thank you, Adrian, and the entire organization for inviting me to be here today. It is great to be here to support the Sounders in this expansion and in this investment in King County. Sounders FC Center at Longacres is an amazing addition to this successful team. You've brought us championships, you've inspired new generations of athletes and fans, but this place will be another great addition to that legacy. It'll be a great place for fans and for the sport to deepen soccer's roots in our community. We're pleased to be the home to one of the league's most successful franchises. And having this place, this home for the Sounders and for soccer, and hopefully soon the World Cup right here in King County, is testament to the strength of our community and the commitment of this club to this region. Since joining the MLS back in 2009, and in all the decades playing in Seattle before, Sounders FC and its predecessor leagues and organizations have been a pillar of our community. Adrian mentioned being an 8-year-old kid when the Sounders first took the field at Memorial Stadium. I was just a couple years older, but we all fell in love with the game. We all went out for soccer, and that happened because of this franchise. They created this. And this organization, Sounders FC of the MLS, took that love of soccer and they supersized it. They built on that. They have created a remarkable culture here. And this new facility is just going to continue that growth of soccer and of our region as a national and global center for the game. So scarves up, and let's go get that cup. Thank you.
Thanks, Dow. Next, we're going to hear from Mayor of Renton, Armando Pavoni. Mayor?
Thank you. So how can you sit here and listen to Adrian and not get excited about this project? This is absolutely amazing. And it's my pleasure to welcome the Seattle Sounders FC to the city of Renton. Today is indeed a great day for the city of Renton. We are now the home to the Seattle Sounders FC and the Seattle Seahawks. We haven't quite found a space for the Mariners yet, but we're still looking. Both franchises are recognized worldwide as not only being championship teams, but also as first-class organizations and invaluable community partners. So this site holds so much history for Renton and for our community. First as a former dairy farm, then as the hub for thoroughbred horse racing throughout the Northwest, and one of the sites of the oldest racetracks in all of the United States. So of course it hurt when Longacres left us 30 years ago, almost to the day. I think it was in September of '92 that they left us. But frankly, it's worth the wait. And we're proud to team with the Sounders and return it to its sporting roots. Beyond the headquarters and training pitches, I'm excited to see the impact the Sounders organization will have on our community. We received a sample of this last year with the Ray Green Foundation, worked with our Parks and Recreation Department to bring a beautiful mini pitch to the Highlands Park. Adrian and Garth, congratulations on the success of your organization. You've built, it's truly an amazing organization. So we're extremely proud you've chosen Renton as your home, and we're excited to help you be part of the community and achieve all your goals. Thank you.
And we'll hear from Garth Lagerway, General Manager and President of Soccer for Sounders FC, before we get to our media Q&A period here. Garth, go ahead.
How cool is this? You know, when we got some legendary Sounders in attendance: Casey Keller, Wade Weber, Marcus Hanneman, Brad Evans, etc. Craig Weibel's here somewhere. You guys who grew up and probably dreamed of playing in a place like this and coming to work here every day and training, and to members of the community like Coach Fewing I see, and Alliance Council members, folks that have poured themselves into this franchise from day one. You know, we got some media members who have been here for 12, 15, 20 years at this point too. So this is so much bigger than just this current Sounders team, and it is such an honor and it is such an amazing feeling to be sitting up here as a steward of the club, and to be able to participate in the development of this facility, and to have the pleasure to work with all these gentlemen in putting this project together. And we couldn't be more proud. We couldn't be happier. We just are so excited to have what's going to be a generational home for the Sounders. And this is going to allow us, you know, we've talked for the last couple years about developing players, and you know, I'll drop a little hint. You might see one of those players who might be a teenager who might start on the road in Honduras on Thursday. We'll see. But that'd be our latest up-and-coming star, and you know, those kids are developed in this community, and to be able to bring them to a palace like this, you know, to say that this will help our recruiting is one of the bigger understatements I can give you. And not just with those young kids from all over the community, all over Washington, all over the Northwest, but players from all over the world. You know, we always had an incredible selling point in Lumen Field, where all we had to do was put in the DVD back in the day when we were starting, or now send them a link and say, hey, this is what it looks like every weekend at Lumen. And there's still 30, 40 teams in the world, the whole world, that put in 40,000 people a game like we do. Our fans will always be the strength of the franchise, and we really look forward to welcoming you into this facility as well, and to now be able to have a second link and show Lumen on the weekend, and then to say, hey, you get to come to work here every day. That's pretty amazing. That's pretty incredible. And again, you can probably feel it, but we're pretty fired up. We're pretty pumped up, and this is an amazing development for the franchise, and it's an amazing step forward, and we just couldn't be more excited to get started. 2024 can't come soon enough. Thank you all.
Thank you to everyone for your opening remarks. And at this time, a lot of news being broken up here today, so I'm sure there are questions and we want to hear those. If you have them, I see yours, thank you so much. Go ahead and raise your hand and we'll get around to everyone. We do have help. We've got Katie here to my right, and I believe Ashley, to my left, bringing around the wireless mics. So we'll get to your questions now. Chris, Katie, if you want to take it over to Chris Daniels here. And this is being live streamed and carried by various news outlets, so feel free to introduce yourself if you're asking a question of someone that doesn't know you.
Hi, I'm Chris Daniels from King 5 News in Seattle. And Ned, I have a question for you, and Adrian, for you as well. Ned, when did these conversations start, knowing that the ink is barely dry on the deal with Boeing? I mean, only a few months ago. How did this all start? And then, Adrian, it may sound like a dumb question, but what will this place offer that you don't have in Tukwila?
Great question. Yeah, the conversations for this opportunity started about 6 months ago. It was actually probably when the first conversation started, and Adrian and I were chatting and talking about the synergy of the two of our firms and our philosophy, and it quickly gained momentum and just seemed like an absolute win-win, and gained momentum in a very, very quick way. And we ended up closing, within 120 days of that first conversation.
Yeah, no, Chris, look, I would say the word that comes to mind is scale. We have a blank canvas here to some degree, and we get to start from scratch and to design a world-class facility. Starfire has been fantastic for us, but it is a public park with a lot of things going on, and they have a mission and the way they want to run their facility. And this just gave us the ability to start from scratch design a whole, we are currently looking at 50,000 square feet, but if we want to go to 70 or 80,000 square feet, that opportunity is afforded us. We're looking at doing 4 fields. We could stretch that to 5. And Unico, again, has been a fantastic partner in that to provide us with that flexibility as we look to build out.
We'll go to Tim Booth next from the AP. Ashley, he is seated right there.
Adrian, was the plans for this presented to FIFA when they were here for their site visit back in the fall, and how can this facility help enhance that bid and the potential for games being played here?
Yeah, it was. We brought them on a stealth tour of the facility, so they have seen the plans. They know that this could potentially be a training facility. And again, I also want to mention that Starfire is also still a potential training facility.
We'll go to Jada Evans from the Times next.
Thank you. Yes, Jada Evans with the Seattle Times. Ned, I wanted to ask, you had mentioned other facilities or other buildings, residential. What else do you plan for the site? And then Adrian, you had mentioned this being a place for the fans. How so, beyond the names on the pillars?
We're early in the design and master planning process, but we purchased about 158 acres. It's on the Renton commuter rail to Seattle, so we see a tremendous opportunity for multifamily, potentially as many as 3,000 multifamily units. There's about 1 million square feet of office, which we'll be reoccupying with various uses. And we think that leaves another 25 acres of land beyond what the Sounders are taking for other opportunities that we haven't identified yet. So it's going to be a 10-year build out, and we'll see where it goes.
And Jada, I don't have all the answers today to how we will incorporate this facility for the fans, but as this space, for instance, you could imagine some events here. We will have kitchen prep areas, facility, so we could certainly do a lot of events here. It's a 2-minute walk to the train, which is 12 minutes from King Street Station and adjacency to Lumen Field. We could potentially do events here and have people take the train to games. We could have viewing parties. I don't think they're going to let us keep that TV, but it's looking pretty sweet right now. And we may have to get one installed, but we could certainly do viewing parties. You saw the design that included a deck that overlooks the training field. I'm not going to promise that that's going to be a free-for-all, but certainly at times we can invite people, maybe even the media, to be up there and view. So we will, and we'll talk to our fans and find out what other ideas we have for incorporating our fans into this facility.
Go over to Jeremiah Oshan next. He's in the back row there.
Jeremiah Oshan, SB Nation and Sound at Heart. This is for either Dow or Armando. There's been a lot of mention about the public transit access to this space. I'm just curious if you could speak to what is here currently and what sort of expansion is possible to the degree you can speak to that.
Okay, I'll start. So as was mentioned, there's a Sounder commuter rail, so that's a Sound Transit service that runs from Pierce County up into Seattle. Another line runs north up into Snohomish County. And then there's a high-capacity bus line. There's bus rapid transit being constructed right now from Sound Transit 3 that will run the entire length of 405. And then there's planning going on to ultimately extend light rail, planning for an extension from West Seattle, where it's headed, down to White Center, Buren, and across the valley to Renton. That was part of the measure that the voters approved in 2016. So there's a lot, and this is leaving aside, single occupancy vehicles, there's a lot of transit that converges on this site and more planned.
Next question, we'll go over to Jackson Feltz there in the back.
Hey, Jackson Feltz, 950 KJR. Adrian, you mentioned a few minutes ago about wanting fans to help build the next 50 years of this club and getting fan input in those kind of initiatives. I know you said that there's going to be more coming in the weeks to come, but can you go a little bit deeper into what's on the table there in terms of that branding? Is it logo, colors, full rebrand? What's on the table there?
Yeah, I think it could be. When we started the MLS club, I don't think that there was necessarily that there wasn't a purposeful connection to the history of the club, to the NASL days, the USL days. And I think that we want to explore that and figure out, again, through our fans. This isn't me, this isn't somebody in the marketing department. This will ultimately be our fans helping us decide what the look, feel of our marks should be going forward. Should we have additional marks, that allow us to break things up for merchandise, online presence? So that is absolutely a piece of it. But we want to talk to our fans and just kind of see what they think about how they view the next generation and what we should look like, feel like, smell like as a club.
I'll keep working across the room here. So we'll go to Ari next, and then Maz right in front of Ari. He's in the back row there, Katie.
Hi, Wall with MLSsoccer.com. My question's for the mayor. Could you give us an idea of the timeline of when you were approached about this idea? And, having seen how the Seahawks facility has fared here over the years, what do you think it will add to the community to now be hosting both of these teams here?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear that last part of the question.
Well, just thinking about the time that your experience with the Seahawks facility also being here, what do you think having hosting for both of these teams will add to the community?
So to answer your first question, this site has obviously been of interest to a number of developers for quite some time when Boeing announced that it went for sale. And as far as officially noticing, we just had a meeting a few weeks back with Ned and Adrian. So nothing was official until it was purchased. So in terms of the involvement in the community, I think the Sounders made it really clear that they want to be part of the Renton community. They're leaning into this experience and actively saying they want the community to be part of it. So I think having an organization like this in the city will be a huge benefit. In terms of our community, soccer is a very international, multicultural experience, and we're one of the most diverse cities in the entire country, and so it definitely fits in nicely with the future of Renton and our direction. So,
Thank you. I think it is Maz next.
Maz Vidamara, Eric Cascadia, Sports.net. And this one is for Garth. I know, can you talk a little bit about the recruitment for the players? Like, what is this upgrade for the players? Training facilities and the coaching meeting rooms and all those? Could you go a little bit more into that? Is it possible?
Sure. We are still laying out the floor plan and what exactly all these details look like. But it'll be amazing in terms of it'll impact every aspect of our players' lives. I mean, from where they approach the field, to be able to walk from an interior facility that has been tailored just for them directly out onto the field. You know, you saw some of that video, you know, with couches and fire pits and the soccer field right out there. That is the vision for the team, is to have this first level space that is dedicated to the first team. We'll have spaces separately for Academy and Defiance, but it's going to be centered around the first team and their access directly in and out. We're going to have a state-of-the-art facility from a medical perspective. We're going to have a state-of-the-art facility from a performance perspective. You may see us partner with some local companies on some of that stuff as well, and we're very excited about what that could bring. Also, from an analytics standpoint, you know, we may have the ability to develop an analytics lab in connection with a partner or partners here locally as well. So, really exciting stuff like that off the field, all in support of our players. But even Maz, on a day-to-day basis, food is such an important thing. Nutrition is such an important thing. And have spaces for sports psychologists and chefs to be able to literally prepare meals that are tailored to each player individually with the right nutritional balance. I really think it's going to be a next level step forward for us in terms of how we prepare our guys, how we make them more resilient, how we make them better soccer players at a higher level, at a consistent level over time. And I did want to say one last thing. I want to give a shout out here to Tom Riley, who has been the man internally who's been shepherding this project for us all along. So Tom, I don't know if you're here, if you give us, there he is, right there in the back, just gave us a little wave, but we would not be here today without Tom. So I want to say a personal thank you to Tom for all of his efforts.
We'll keep going in the middle of the room. Nico, I think you were next, waiting very patiently, and then John right next to Nico. Feel free, guys.
Hi, Nico Moreno, Pulso Sports, Sounder Hard. Questions for Adrian or Garth. Cheney Stadium and Starfire have been used for Open Cup games. Would this facility be used for those purposes?
They definitely could be. It's one of the things we looked at. You know, as Adrian said, we're not sure yet. Is it going to be 4 fields? Is it going to be 5 fields? You know, how are we going to build out those spaces? But one of the things we're looking at is, you know, could this be the future home of the Defiance group in the MLS Next Pro? So again, as it's not just the Sounders growing, right? But with the World Cup coming to Seattle, does it make sense to build out some of these facilities as a potential hosting venue? And then as the Academy even continues to expand, as we look 10, 20 years out, the possibilities here really are limitless, and that was one of the things that really attracted us to this project. So the great news is the answer isn't no to any of that, and we're going to explore all those possibilities and see ultimately where we land, but that is a really exciting opportunity for us to potentially play Defiance games and Open Cup games and things like that here.
John, go ahead.
Yeah, John Marshall, Radio Cascadia. Adrian and Dow, with this investment here, with a specific facility for the Sounders leaving Starfire, I'm curious if there's any potential plans of renovating Lumen Field with specific facilities, locker rooms for the club, and more soccer-specific infrastructure there.
That is a better question for the Vulcan group, the Seahawks group. Alex, do we have any information on that?
I don't know at this time if we do.
Okay.
I think it's one we can maybe circle up after and get you some more details on it. We'll keep going across the room here. And Michelle, thank you for waiting so patiently. I believe you're next.
This is for Adrian or Garth. I'm Michelle Mendoza, my Michelle Live Sports Timeout. The facility, you mentioned how, Garth, it can be such an advantage for our players. How does that compare to some of the other MLS facilities? Is this going to be a gold standard? And will this help propel MLS even further as we go into the future?
I'll take it. For sure, this will be a gold standard, but this is this league has really evolved over the last, since we entered in 2009. I wouldn't exactly characterize it as an arms race, but there is a lot of investment going into infrastructure, and we want to lead where possible, wherever possible. But there are many facilities around our league that are fantastic, beautiful facilities. We get to learn from some of the things they've done well, some of the mistakes they've made. we will certainly try to put our own, sorry, that's maybe better, our own unique stamp on it. And we certainly want it to be the leading facility, but I would certainly be lying if I said that there aren't other clubs out there in our league who are investing in infrastructure and trying to do the same thing that we're here doing today.
Go over to Chris next.
Thanks, Alex. Adrian, this is along those same lines, and I don't expect you to give me any kind of number, but in terms of how big this investment is for the club, where are you in that realm? Like, are you thinking this is before it should come, or what, in terms of when you need to, in terms of when you need to make this investment? Like, do you need to do this right now, and how big is this investment for the club?
Well, this is an enormous investment for the club. We do believe we need to do it now, and I'll go back. Garth did my work for me, and thank you. But I need to mention Tom Riley as well. This process started more than 3 years ago. We started looking at properties, trying to figure out what the future would hold for the Sounders. The pandemic definitely put a speed bump in the way, but we looked at properties north, south, and east. I wouldn't say we went very far west. Although we may have to work on a floating facility at some point. But when we saw this property for the first time and really kind of got our feet on the ground here, we knew this was the spot. So it's an enormous investment. We needed to do it. And again, Tom Riley did a fantastic job of sort of shepherding us through this process and remaining steadfast. Garth as well, putting a lot of pressure on the fact that we need to. This club deserves a world-class facility, and that was sort of the. It had to happen, and the timing was great with this property being available and connecting with Unico.
We'll take a couple more to make sure we're leaving time for the photo opportunity. I know there are some tight schedules up here, especially for our electeds, but we'll go to Gregor next in the back.
Yeah, I'm Gregor from 1077 The End. When you walk in, a beautiful display of all the hardware, what becomes of the match space, the 90, in the future?
For the time being, we're gonna keep it. We have a lease in place. It's a great question, Gregor. We will figure out over time whether we want to hang on to it. Again, invest more and lean into it, or whether this becomes that space for us. But obviously, the proximity to Lumen is great. It's a good spot for our fans. Pre-game, again, with the pandemic, it's thrown a wrench into everything for all of us. So that space has not gotten very much use over the last 2 years.
All the way in the back there to Felipe. Thank you, Ashley.
I'm Felipe Maqueda from El Rey 1360 AM. So I have two questions, very quick. One is the King County or the City of Renton doing any investment to improve the surroundings of the area? And my other question is to Adrian. At Starfire, the players were walking through the fields with kids playing around and people coming to them. Is that going to be the same thing here, or they're going to be more like in a private environment?
I can start about King County investment. So, of course, we're the lead agency for transit in the region. So our transit investments have been planned and being deployed long before this happened, but this is exactly the kind of development that we want to encourage, not only the sports facility, but up to 3,000 transit-oriented housing units. That warrants further investment, whether it's by King County Metro or by Sound Transit as part of the regional system. That is the way in which we're going to be able to give everyone in this region access to opportunity, whether it's job opportunities or opportunities to enjoy products like what the Sounders put on the field. I don't know about any other sort of immediate county connections to the property, but of course our duties cover the waterfront, so to speak, so I'm going to be happy to continue working with Adrian and with Unico on how we can help make this a success.
So as far as the city of Renton goes, it's just entirely too early in the process, the design process. There's been a number of conversations on possibilities, but it really depends on what direction the ownership group goes.
And it's a great